What up, everybody? I'm your host, JP. This is my co-host, Josh.
Hey, everybody.
And welcome back to another episode of the FilmBros podcast. All right, y'all. So today we have a movie to review, a little bit more in-depth conversation. And today's subject, it has to do, with the all well-known brand called Disney. And as adults, I never feel like, Josh, and I'm talking about me and you, I never feel like we can actually dive into these Disney projects so heavy because we don't really have that child mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So the closest we could have done is bring on a guest today, which is, she's a child at heart. She's not an actual child. She's just a child at heart. She's one of those Disney adults that I like, that everybody likes to talk about, feeding Disney money and all that stuff. And so, without further ado, the special guest in the house today is our sister, Stephanie. Hi, Steph.
Hi.
How you doing? How's everything?
Good.
You want to introduce yourself to everybody?
You already did. I'm the Disney adult.
The Disney adult here in the flesh, and you know what? In my opinion, she doesn't miss with her Disney stuff. Actually, the movie that we're going to be reviewing today and going a little bit in depth with the Disney conversation, she was pretty on point earlier. We were having a little bit of conversation, Josh, with her, and she was pretty on point, a little bit more in detail than what we would have thought, right? Mm-hmm. You agree?
Yes.
All right. Without further ado, Josh, let them know what movie we're gonna be reviewing today.
We're going to be reviewing The Little Mermaid 2023.
You broke the rules. You went to the above world.
A man was drowning. I had to save him.
This obsession with humans has to stop.
I just want to know more about them. Ariel, don't!
Poor child. I can help you. You can't live in that world unless you become a human yourself.
Is that even possible?
It's what I live for.
2023.
Before we dive into this movie, everybody knows Disney hasn't really been having, the best track record. But at the same time, they're pumping out all these, remakes. We've had, you've said a couple, Stephanie, Maleficent. They've had the Cinderella remake. They're currently in the process of doing a Lilo and Stitch remake, live action. They're doing a Moana live action. Yes. The Little Mermaid is just another live action remake and a bundle of Disney's fucking closet. I guess before we start diving into these questions and maybe diving into the movie itself, I think we should start off with on a good note when it comes to Disney. And I would like to ask Stephanie, you first. What is the best OG Disney movie that was made back in the 90s, whatever you grew up with, that they made a remake of?
That's a tough one. For me, my favorite Disney movie is The Little Mermaid.
Okay. So you have some personal roots with this review that we're about to...
Yes. So I haven't been a fan of a lot of Disney remakes. I do like their spin on, or the origin stories of the villain. So Cruella was a great movie.
Cruella was a good movie.
Maleficent, both parts were great movies. Yeah. I don't know. I feel Disney hasn't been the best at making their remakes.
Okay, that's fair. And, we'll dive into that a little bit more maybe after the review. What about you, Josh? What's your favorite classic OG Disney movie?
Because I don't think I like any of the remakes that much to have a specific one, but an OG one, or I have two. It's Tarzan and it's Hercules. Those two.
Okay. All right.
The best.
That top tier. So
Top
are
tier.
You excited for that Hercules TikTok remake that's going to be coming out, that live action one?
Yes and no. It makes me scared. It makes me scared because after this one and their track record, I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, no, not so much.
I'm scared they're gonna fuck with what's already good.
Yeah, probably. My OG, I just to put it out there, I gotta say it's A Bug's Life. I think universally, I mean, they never made a remake of it. I'm hoping that they just leave it untouched.
Yeah.
But A Bug's Life has to be hands down one of their better like Disney Pixar projects, right? Or, in my opinion, I don't know.
That's why
I would have thought.
I love the grasshopper in there.
Well, no, I thought it would be different. Pixar is different.
Oh yeah.
It's
Disney,
the same
sorry.
company, but different.
Yeah, sorry. I would say Disney because I don't think they even acquired Pixar when A Bug's Life had came out. So it would be Disney. Yeah, Disney. Yeah, A Bug's Life, 100%. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
You still think Little Mermaid's king?
Yeah, for my book,
Queen?
yeah.
Okay, all right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and start jumping right in. So this is the part of the portion, guys, that you all know this will be a spoiler review for The Little Mermaid. So if you guys haven't seen the movie yet, go out there, go watch it, come back, have the conversation with us, and we'll dive a little bit deeper. So with that, Stephanie, since you're the Disney adult and the guest today, you let us know what your initial thoughts for The Little Mermaid was. You leaving the theater and everything, all biases aside, what were your initial thoughts leaving?
My initial thoughts would have to be that it could have been. It was a mid movie. I would say it wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't the worst. There are certain parts that I wish we could have seen in this live action that were in the original. For example, outfits.
Okay.
They did leave her in one outfit the whole entire movie, and then just gave her a different color at the end of the movie.
Okay. Outfits. That's a distinguishable thing, I think, especially if you're a fan of the old one. I do remember that she did have at least a few wardrobes. Yeah. In her roster.
Costume design can be very bland.
What about you, Josh? What was your initial thoughts?
Yeah, same boat. I thought it was kind of mid. There was nothing really distinguishable about this movie where I was like, oh, this is better than the original, or hell, it's even better than one of their live action ones. I'm just like, it was average. It felt average to me. Those were my basic thoughts. Okay,
well, Little Mermaid coming in with a 7.2 out of 10 on the IMDb. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 68% with actually a 95% audience score. So apparently a lot of people are feeling this movie.
Yeah.
Me personally, I guess my initial thoughts would have to be it didn't do anything. It didn't do anything. I guess you could say it didn't. I think I said this before on a different episode, but a movie needs a reason to be alive, if that makes sense. Like, you cannot just make a movie and be like, I'm gonna make The Little Mermaid today just because, hey, we want to make money. No, you need a reason for that movie to exist. Mm-hmm. I mean, some people say Toy Story 4 was an unneeded sequel. I'm personally on that boat. It didn't give it a reason to exist. This movie, if I wanted to watch The Little Mermaid, I'd just go watch the cartoon, I think. At the end of the day, watching this one, I was like, man, you know what? I probably have a better time just going back to the OG cartoon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you agree?
I agree, sure. And I also think too, the ratings could be due to like a different generation, because anybody that has seen the original Little Mermaid could have the same point of view as to what we are seeing in this live action, because they know this princess has always been a specific princess, and it as this new generation, it's kind of like more I don't know how to put this, but like they don't really connect to that old film as well as someone that was born in the 90s, grew up with this specific movie and expecting it to be similar to that movie.
I'm not too sure, because my thing is with ratings and stuff is Disney movies are always going to be hitters, I think, amongst the critics. I don't know if it's a generational thing. I know they have a list, and if they're like, oh, this checks every box, that's how we do it. And then audience score, that's just the unanimous decision that it's good or bad, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm not too sure, but I think there is a big difference between, or at least in my opinion, the disconnect between the critics and the audience. I don't know if I agree that it's that good. 95 is crazy.
95 for an audience score is wild for a movie that I walked out of and could have probably thought different. But I think Stephanie makes a good point. And you make a good point as well. I think Disney does keep critics in their back pocket a little bit. I feel like critics are a little bit more lenient when it comes to Disney products, and I think that they give them a little bit more. But at the same time, a 68 on the critic score doesn't really show that it's giving it a pass, because I think every single remake has basically been a pull to the critics saying like, oh, this, and a lot of these critics have been around for a while. So maybe this could be a generational thing that Stephanie was saying, where, we go in there expecting, everything that basically happened in the original cartoon, where, we were sitting in the theater, and I guess the most engagement and interaction that I noticed from the audience was from the children. Yeah. That they're, it's a new story. It's, the little girls that were in there, they were very excited to see the mermaids and stuff like that. And so it could be a generational thing, but at the same time, I think Disney, and we'll probably go into this a little bit more, is like Disney with the remakes, they've been trying to, bring in that old audience, the fans of the original, along with the new audience, the ones that this movie's supposed to be, that basically that landmark that it was for us, you know what I mean? Yeah. As the Little Mermaid growing up. And I don't think that they have been nailing it when it comes to trying to attract older and younger. And I think this movie kind of shows that, there's a big disconnect, right?
I agree.
Yeah. You see that? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Any rebuttals? Anything to add on that one before we keep moving?
No,
I don't think so.
Everybody agrees in this room? Okay.
Fine.
All right. I think we're just all adults. Maybe we actually needed a child in here, not a Disney adult. But so let's talk about the characters. I think the characters should be the first thing that we bring up. So the actors in this one, we actually got a pretty good cast. We had Haley Bailey as Ariel. We had Jonah Hewer-King as Eric. Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. Flounder. I don't know who played Flounder. I'm trying to figure out. Sebastian was David Diggs. He's actually the one that I guess we're hearing he's in the running to play the Thing in Fantastic Four.
Oh wow.
Awkwafina was Scuttle. Flounder was Jacob Tremblay. If you guys don't know who Jacob is, he came out in a few movies. He was a younger kid. Now he looks completely different. He's a lot older. So we had a pretty decent cast. Okay. I don't know, Stephanie. What did you think about the characters in this one?
Well, let's start on a good note, because Melissa McCarthy killed Ursula.
Yeah. Okay. See, there you go.
I
can agree with that.
I think she did great. She embodied Ursula. She did a good job.
She watched the original.
She did, and she did use some of her quotes and her lines and try to really bring her out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That okay. You started with a positive. Now let's go to the negative. I need to hear the negative.
I they could have gave my boy Flounder and Sebastian a little bit more color, more life.
Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what about you? What did you think about the characters?
I liked Melissa McCarthy. I know we've been on record dragging her before as an actress, but she really did her thing in this for some reason. I don't know what it was. She was one of my favorite parts. Mm-hmm. As far as the fish and all that go, like Sebastian and Flounder, it's off-putting. It's really weird seeing voices come out of real life talking animals. That was the most weird thing for me. And then
it's alive.
Yeah, it was the most disturbing thing. And then as far as what's her name, Halle Bailey goes as Ariel, I think she did fine. Nothing too spectacular. And then as for everyone else, it was kind of like either side character. Oh, and Eric, I wasn't really vibing with him for some reason. I don't know what it was. It was just his
he should have been hotter.
He should have been
more attractive.
I honestly, I can agree with that. You know what?
That puts it in the words.
I gotta say it too. No homo, but I think he should have been a little bit finer. When I seen Eric in the original one, I was like, okay, this, jawline straight. You know what I mean? Like he was ripped, whatever, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's they're gonna get somebody like that. It just seemed like some dweeb was trying to get some dweeb was stalking this girl that saved his life at one point, and that was basically it. The characters for me, I think you guys are right. I think Melissa McCarthy. We have drug her on this podcast before, but you know, it's a breath of fresh air from somebody that we've said before, like she's, you know, a one-show pony, to actually have given her all. And I think, honestly, she stole the scene in every single scene that she was in. We'll talk about the visuals later, but I guess David Diggs as Sebastian, I honestly thought he did a good job. I think he was a highlight throughout the movie. You know, I thought he was pretty funny.
Yeah, he was funny.
I think the kid that played Flounder, the way they look aside, I think the kid that played Flounder actually did a good job as Flounder. Aquafina as Scuttle, big mistake. I don't even understand why they should have just kicked it with the dude, like how they did in the original. If they wanted to give it to a girl, that's fine, but I don't know what it is. It's just Aquafina's voice, that raspiness just doesn't. I guess it works when it has the facial expressions to go with it, because I was thinking about it. I was like, why was it her voice so annoying in this one? And I seen her in like Shang-Chi and all that, and her facial expressions and everything she throws with her voice kind of distracts you from it. But in this one, when it's just blatantly her voice and just out of a random bird or seagull or whatever, it just sounded so bad. It was a lot.
And I'll have to disagree with you on that one.
Which one?
On that one, because I think like that gave the bird personality. It gave Scuttle his personality, because if you remember in the original, he does have that raspy voice when he tries to do the scene and like it just kind of worked for that specific character.
So you think Aquafina as Scuttle was actually pretty good?
I thought so.
Yeah, you would say that? I personally thought her voice was just too much. I mean, as I get, and it's coming back to me now. Yeah, in the original, he did try to sing and it did get raspy, but he was played as that like dumbass, how like she was playing it, but like the voice wasn't always so like that. It wasn't as raspy. Maybe I haven't seen the movie in a long time, but for her, it was just too much raspiness. Like every single like sentence she tried to get out, it sounded like it was just something stuck in her throat, and it just irritated me.
That's probably the best way to put it. I think I can see where both of you guys are coming from. I don't really like her, dislike her. She was just kind of the bird was kind of just you know what I mean. As far as they go, they were all right. I wasn't really vibing with is he supposed to be Poseidon, right, or whatever?
Trident.
King
Trident.
Yes, King Trident. I wasn't really King of the Seas. It gets me confused sometimes, but I wasn't really vibing with him. For some reason, I feel like he was putting like no effort into his acting at all.
Yeah, he kind of reminded me of you remember? Well, I think it was the same actor, the dude that plays in Pirates of the Caribbean, Salazar, Blackbeard. Mm-hmm. I think it's the same actor. And with this one, it just every single scene that he was in, we'll probably get into it later, so I'm not gonna jump the gun. But every scene that he was in, it just seemed flat. It just seemed so dumb. Like he didn't have that same passion in the original, because I remember the original. He was actually like worried about his daughter and everything. He wasn't angry like that. He wasn't just angry at the world. He was actually caring for Ariel.
A concerned father.
There you go.
Yes.
And this one, he was a concerned father, but he was just. It didn't seem like he was so concerned.
He felt very static.
Yeah.
There was no. That's why he wasn't like. There was no emotion. It felt like he was just like, oh, we need you to be this mean guy. Go ahead and do that for us. And then he just played that one note the whole movie. Every scene he was in, I was just like, I couldn't get past him, because I was just like, he's putting like no effort in to even interact with these people correctly.
Yeah, I see that. You saw that?
I agree. If he was in the movie or not, I don't think we'd really miss him.
Yeah. See,
we would, because he was in the original, but
yes, but in the sense of like personality, I don't think so.
Yeah, they could have done without him.
And can I also mention that Ariel's hair should have been red?
Okay, that's part of the character.
Yeah.
Ariel's hair could have been red. Now it's gonna sound bad, and it's not because I rock with Ariel. I just don't think Haley Bailey produced an Ariel for me. Like, if what do you call it? If you and this has nothing to do with skin color or anything like that. I'm judging her based on her character and the way that
Like
you know
performance and
her
everything.
performance and everything. And to be honest, I didn't get a good performance out of her. And for somebody who lost her voice throughout the whole movie and has to really show by emoting and you know emotions and stuff like that by emoting,
Yeah.
she didn't really do that either. It just seemed like she was just there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she had the acting chops to pull this kind of movie off. I haven't seen her in a lot. I think the only other movie that I've seen that she was going to be in was in the trailer before the movie started playing. And I honestly, she didn't produce a good Ariel for me. I don't know.
I would have to agree. I think Ariel has more personality than what was put out by her. I wish she could have embodied her more, because even with her singing parts, it was kind of more like she was having a conversation versus actually trying to hit the notes. And she just would make like a confused face, or just kind of, it just didn't work with what she was putting out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that too. I don't know what it was, because I think they probably just chose her because she can sing. I thought most of her singing was all right, but I think that's mostly why they picked her. Because yeah, she wasn't emoting right either in scenes where she was supposed to be like confused or whatever. Like that whole sequence where she's on land or whatever, and they added that new song for her in her fucking head. Her face was like, it felt blank. Like half the time the camera was on it, we're just like, we know she's feels this type of way in her head. Why can't she emote that properly?
Express it outside.
Yes.
Yeah. Because in the original, I remember Ariel, she couldn't speak, but she was emoting. Her facial expressions basically said what she was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
If she felt defeated, she'd make that defeated face or whatever, and it would just. But this one, she just didn't do that. And like I said, for a movie that is relying on you to not speak, actions, movement of your hands, facial expressions, that really helps convey the emotion to the audience. And she was just so stiff. She didn't have any of that at all.
It was really weird.
Did you notice that? Did you feel like she was kind of emotionless?
Yes, I could agree with that. I wish she would have done a little bit more facial expressions when she was happy, when she was sad, upset.
Yeah, they like I said, everything aside, her acting was just not there, and I just think singing wise, yeah. But there was times where I was watching her sing or her sing in the movie or whatever, and I was just like, I was looking at her and I was like, it looks like she's just lip syncing this shit. It's just so you know how like they try. Some people actually sing on set and you know actually try to make it a as realistic as possible. Yeah, it seemed like she was lip syncing all of it, and I was just like, man, like for a movie that is first of all a musical, all right, you got to really sell this shit.
Yes,
she wasn't really, in my opinion, wasn't really selling. I know we'll probably talk about the music in a little bit, but yeah, I guess character wise, we can agree it was a mixed bag. This one, it wasn't really solid thing. Some people stole the show, which it should have been Ariel's show, and she didn't. I don't think there was one scene where I can remember where I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait for Ariel to come back after that, because everything. I was more worried about when is the crab gonna make a next joke so I can be happy. I was more worried about Ursula. I think I was like, man, put her more on screen because she was really acting the shit out of this movie. But other than that, I think I don't think I was excited to really see too much out of this movie besides what I was anticipating, and that's it. Yeah, everybody agrees.
Yeah, it's fair.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's a fair way to put it, honestly. Because
I'm not trying to be mean. But let's go ahead and talk about CGI. All right, let's talk about CGI. Let's talk about and I guess with this one we can kind of put in there as well translation, right, from cartoon to live action. You said before, Josh, the voices coming out of the crab and the fish just didn't hit for you. I want to say I agree, but at the same time, I just think it was just the design. I think it was the design of this one, because I remember when they put out The Lion King, and I know some people were like, oh yeah, you know, why didn't you guys put more facial expressions, or, you know, because in the original Lion King there was more. And the same thing with The Little Mermaid, the fish had more human eyes and stuff like that to be able to show emotion. Yeah. And them having actual CGI fish and crab and everything, they couldn't really convey emotion. So that was an issue with this one, at least, because I mean it show, at least with the crab you can show a little bit of emotion with the crab, but I think with Flounder you didn't. I think with Scuttle you kind of did, but facial expressions you couldn't, because obviously it was a bird. I don't know what. And then I guess the underwater scenes, and I'm gonna bring it back to Trident. I don't know why, but I hate that new thing that they're doing where they just put people in bald caps and CGI their hair. It's so fucking distracting, and it's even more distracting when like you can tell it's real hair when they come out of the water, and then you can tell it's fake hair when they're inside the water. And I think with, at least with the water scenes, this movie holds up along with Aquaman. It doesn't even reach the peaks that it did with like Avatar 2 or something.
No. Well, as far as the animals go, I enjoyed most of their designs. I really did like that most of them looked like real fish. Like that, I'm telling you, maybe like I started dying laughing seeing them dancing under the sea. It was the funniest shit. I would like them translating that was funny, but like it's just off-putting because you got these human like things, like voices coming out of fish that don't really. It's just off-putting. I can't describe it. It's kind of like if you were to like, I guess it's like the equivalent of the Uncanny Valley, where you're just like, oh, this dude looks human, but he doesn't really. He's not. Something is off-putting about that person. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about these animals. I'm just like, man, very disturbing stuff. And then yeah, I will say I think Aquaman had better water scenes than this. Like at least when they were underwater, they came out like wet and whatnot when they were on the surface, and then like their hair flowed with the water. That was one of the biggest things, because that's what one of the things in the original was Ariel's hair was constantly flowing with the water.
Yeah.
Here, Triton's hair didn't do that. Neither of her sisters did. Her hair didn't flow in the water at all. I think the only one that probably had it like once or twice was Ursula, but she has like a buzz cut. So you're like, why doesn't hers?
It would just. I noticed that the hair would just move when like
they did drastic movements.
Yeah, when they did drastic movements, and it'll sway that way.
Yeah,
and I guess maybe that makes sense, but like there was no current showing the hair moving and nothing.
Constantly moves.
Yeah.
It was disturbing.
What do you think about the CGI and all that?
As for the animals, I mean, we have to keep in mind that it's a live action, and a lot of the times animals don't really have facial expressions.
Yeah.
So I didn't really pay too much attention to those, because I figured, you know, they're crabs, they're fish. They don't make faces like a human does.
Okay.
It is a little weird how you said no. I don't know, a human voice coming out of a fish or a crab is kind of weird, but at the end of the day, that's what makes the character.
Yeah.
It is weird how the way that, I don't know, it just looked, I'm not good with CGI and stuff like that, but it looked very low budget.
Yeah.
And
I get what you're saying.
And to me, for being a company that has been putting out movies and taking them out like they're candy, you would think that they would take the time to kind of like perfect these things to give you a good movie.
Yes.
Yeah, because even there was some scenes too when like Ariel was swimming, when she was getting attacked and shit. That shit looks super fucking fake, bro. Like that shit looks so bad. The tail in some scenes when they were out of the water, her tail looked nice. I think it looked really shiny. I think they did amazing detail with it. But when it was in the water, it just looked so bland and generic, and it was irritating me. I don't know if you guys are ever gonna watch this movie again, but I'm assuming the behind the scenes was fucking terror, because I don't know if you saw how Trident was like moving his arms when he was swimming.
Yeah.
But he was just like the whole time. He was just like this the whole time, and I was just like, do mermaids need to do that? Because not even in the original did they do that. They were just kind of like, you know, standing there. You know, they'd move and talk like regular, but it must have been a pain in the ass and behind the scenes. But talking about like the water and everything, you're right. A company that has all this money, okay, even bought out a studio that produced one of the better water films. I'm gonna preach it right now. Avatar 2, the water scenes were amazing. A studio like that has the kind of technology like that could have been used in this movie, make it look super real,
Yeah.
It just sucks that we didn't get that, and we got literally Aquaman level water scenes. And I think, as good as Aquaman is, it just doesn't. It doesn't do what other movies within the water does. You know, I just, the scenes in this one just didn't hit right at all.
And then the ending scene with Melissa McCarthy, well, Ursula, I did not like the way they gave her extra gills on her face, and just the scene of when she becomes the queen of the ocean.
Yes.
It was just dark.
Mm-hmm.
There was no, you couldn't distinguish what was what.
Yes.
And that's kind of one of the biggest scenes in the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had Eric being the damsel in distress instead of him being the one to take down Ursula.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yep. You summed up my next point exactly.
Yeah. We're gonna get to the plot and everything, because I feel like that's gonna dig into the plot. So hold on, we'll tear into it right now.
Then
But
we should move forward
Ursula.
to.
I'd say Ursula. I'm surprised you even saw the gills, because I couldn't even see shit throughout that whole scene.
I saw it. I noticed them.
I
You
had my-
noticed them? I seen the lines, but I just didn't know that they were gills. I thought they was just like face paint or something.
Yeah.
It was super dark, and that, you're right. That was like the money shot. That was like the ending, and I was expecting that, because I think I didn't remember the movie, but I was sitting there and I was like, okay, the wedding and everything. I was like, oh, this is over, and I was thinking, I was sitting there, I was like, oh no, that big scene where she turns into a monster is supposed to come up.
Yeah.
And I think that's what got me super hyped. And then when I seen, oh my god, I just felt like it was a domino effect, and I'm gonna speed through it. You seen the scene where Ariel was being held by the eels?
Yes.
That shit looked dog shit. I hated that scene. Like, seeing her being held, like the CGI, and then for them to move over and then grab the dad, and then the way he dies and slowly falls in, I was like, that looks horrific as well. And then for them to just do the icing, the fucking cherry on top, where Ursula comes out and you don't see shit. A la bad guy, fucking. It just took me completely out of the damn movie. I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, that whole ending sequence was just terribly done. Like, you want to talk about a DC movie being dark? Show a motherfucker this, because it was so bad. You couldn't really see. Yeah, you couldn't see anything that was going on. And I'm sure that's like, oh, a real life storm would make it dark, but no, like, it's a movie. You're supposed to, I think you could be able to add some lighting to this shit so people can see what they're looking at.
It made me feel like I was watching Stranger Things again. I was about to take my flashlight out and be like, what are we looking at?
Are we in the in-between?
Like, yeah. It's good you brought that up, because that was going to be my next point. Like as much as she killed it, they did her a disservice by turning her into this big dark beast that you can't even see.
Yeah. The honestly, her big scene, I kind of felt like they made that scene where, you know, she was singing that Poor Unfortunate Souls, like they were trying to sell it like she was gonna, you know, have something to deliver later on, and they undercut that 100%. Like, they built that up like something big was supposed to happen, and then yeah, the whole ending, just though it was a monumental moment, a monumental moment, it just, the fact that you couldn't see anything or anything like that just took me out of the whole experience. I was like, what the fuck, dude?
They did her dirty by the end of it. But, I mean, she performed well, better than, like, half the cast. So, I'm willing to accept it, but at the same time, I feel very robbed, because...
It's not her fault.
Yeah.
It's the studio's fault.
Exactly.
That shit
that was a terrible decision.
That was so bad. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see shit. The theater was dark, and I was just looking around. I was like, did anybody see this? I'm surprised you were able to see it. That's crazy. But that'll lead us to our next point, okay? And I'm gonna save the music for last, so we'll talk about the music and all that stuff and the musical numbers right now. Yeah. But I want to talk about the plot, okay? And I want to talk about the finale. I want to basically just talk about all that stuff. But basically, the point that you brought up, where, you know, Ariel wound up dealing the final blow, and it wasn't Eric. I don't want to get too political, but this movie just felt like it just was around to go ahead and leave check marks. It literally, it just felt like that, because in the original, it wasn't about two lands and being different or whatever. It wasn't a Romeo and Juliet story. It was, but only from the dad side. You know what I mean? It wasn't from oh, humans knew about mermaids and they wanted to kill them. It was just, no, don't go up there because humans are dangerous and they don't know what's under here, so we're safe down here. You know what I mean? So the fact that it was turning into this, oh, you know, like, you guys shouldn't be together and all this and that because, you know, they're bad people, and then like, no, they're bad people. It's like, that shit just threw me out completely. I was like, okay, maybe that's an extra layer. But then they went ahead, and if you see a little bit closer, you know, obviously the butler was there to kind of push that a little bit forward too, with some of the lines that he said, even towards the end, where it was like, oh yeah, a man couldn't save me, I'm gonna save myself. That shit just completely pissed me off, because I was like, in the original one, it was he who saved her, not her who saved herself. You know what I mean? So if she could have done that all along, you know, why did she even need him in the first place? And that's one of those things that, you know, modern day stuff is bringing into this movie, where it's like, they're just trying to be like, oh, she's a woman and she doesn't need a man to save her. And I was like, that really undercut the movie, in my opinion. Oh, as much as he loves her, he's gonna be the damsel in distress, you know. And what was that with, like, him being able to swim all the way to the bottom of the ocean and then get back up for air the moment that he needed it? It just seemed like a lot of plot driven stuff was happening in it. That shit was just,
but that did actually happen in the original.
What happened?
Where he did go down to the ocean and he did hit Ursula with his what is it, a harpoon?
Yeah.
That did happen, and then he, you know, swam up and then got dragged back down. So they did accuracy from that point.
I think it was just too deep. I mean, the thing is that if you guys are going for that realism, you know what I mean? In a cartoon, it could kind of make sense because you could change whatever, blah, blah, blah. You know, in an animation, you can kind of dismiss that. But, like, in a real live action movie, like, you got to have some kind of realism. I mean, if that's the case, they should have just went all in and just been like, okay, he should have jumped in after her off that balcony when Ursula wound up jumping in. You know what I mean? Because I think in the original, that's what he wound up doing anyways.
Yeah.
But they were on a boat or something. But yeah, like, he should have jumped off to follow her. You know what I mean? But I just think if you're going for a realistic take, live action, and you're making even the animals look real, then you got to stick to that realism. You got to think, if she would have turned into a real person at the bottom of the ocean right then and there,
she probably would have fucking exploded.
She would have exploded. Actually, how'd she even make it out for air? There is no way she would have made it out for air.
But you also have to remember how deep, because there's, you know, if you're going to keep it real, whatever the case is, the ocean has different levels of seafloor. So
She looked pretty deep.
I mean, yes, it could have been deep, but not like to the point where the water pressure is going to crush you. That's not where they were at that current time.
I'm just saying, the way where she was, and when she turned human and she went all the way to the top, halfway I would have been I would have been able to breathe.
Like, wasn't it in the original where, like, it was that little, like, storm or whatever music thing that was helping push her up?
Yeah, it pushed her up and left her on top.
Yeah.
And this one,
she was just like, your tail's gone, good luck.
I guess swim with your fucking feet.
Well, in the original, Flounder and Sebastian helped her swim up because she didn't know how to swim, but she knew how to swim with legs. That makes total sense.
I know, kick with your legs. I was like, damn, she's evil.
Like, yeah, that threw me off. I'm like, you had to tell your whole life, and then all of a sudden you know how to.
You can do it.
You can swim, but you don't know how to walk.
Yeah, that's a fair point. If you want us to take it a step further in realism, he wouldn't have been able to see in the water, so he would have missed that harpoon entirely.
Yeah.
So even then.
Yeah. But plot wise, what did you think of the movie?
I just think that it could have been better. I think that even though Ursula was giving the show, I think it was Ursula carrying the whole movie. I think, and Ariel being the one to save everybody was not in the original. They should have stuck with the original and had Eric, take over. And I don't know. I just wasn't content with the ending.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt towards the end. Like, once it was all said and done, I was like, I just felt very average by the end of it. This movie didn't really do anything new, and plot wise, I mean, yeah, it threw me off too because they were I understand the whole people would know about sirens and whatever their song, luring people into the water so they can eat them and stuff. But I don't think turning that into a device to be like, stay away from them because they're supposed to be a myth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the original, it wasn't even like, in the beginning of the original movie, they had a mermaid on the front of their ship. And they were singing about the sea people, and they were not negative about sea people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for them to be like, oh yeah, we're going to kill the mermaid because they're evil, like that was like a completely different scenario that was painted than the original.
Yeah. In the original, it felt like they were just, because by this time, people were still like primitive and all that, believed in different gods and stuff. So when the queen was like, oh, the water gods are upset, it'd be like, that makes sense because you guys are trying to hunt the mermaids or whatever of the sea. Well, in the original, you kind of just didn't do that because they controlled the seas.
Yeah.
By myth.
Mm-hmm. My thing was too is that, and it's probably gonna dip into the realism thing that we're talking about too, was they're talking about Trident, but then they were talking about the stars, Ares, Zeus, and all that stuff. Technically, it wouldn't be Trident down there. It would have been Poseidon if the gods that he was naming if they would have known, it would have been Poseidon and not Trident. That's just me.
That's just the naivety of that era. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but plot wise, I think it was just a lot of things pushed the plot forward, and I did kind of like that layer of that Romeo and Juliet type esque thing that they were trying to go for. It just didn't work because there was really no tension to be made with the rest of the movie, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? If they would have known Ariel was a mermaid or something, that probably would have added that tension, like, she's from the sea, we can't trust her because what if she is a mermaid in disguise or something like that? You know what I mean? Like, if they were going for that kind of thing, they should have added some kind of tension to that plot line. You know what I mean? But they didn't. They were just like, oh, ocean bad, land bad, don't go over there. I think the only tension that they put with the ocean was that his wife had died because of somebody, but they didn't even go into detail like how she died. Was it a stray harpoon? Like, did it ricochet off a couple boats? Did it, hit the water and she was just, it's over? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they should have, if they were going to bring that up, like, oh, they killed your mother, they should have gave us a little scene in the beginning. Because obviously we know that there was another movie. Mm-hmm. It was, would it be a prequel, technically,
yeah.
for the Little Mermaid?
About her mom or whatever.
And the way she died was because of pirates, not because of a regular,
exploring ship.
Yeah. So I think giving that backstory probably would have painted a different picture in this movie. But since that wasn't given, and it was just kind of like how you said, oh, they're evil because they killed your mother. Well, who killed your mother?
Yeah.
Like,
because even at the end too, I was like, oh. Like, they're all in harmony. They were, they were leaving, and everybody, all the mermaids came out and stuff like that.
Ugly ass scene. Yeah.
Yeah. CGI wise.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go plot wise real quick.
So bad. It looks so bad.
I'm gonna be like, the thing is that all that stuff happened, and they had a beef or whatever vendetta with these people. In my head, at the end of all that, when they all popped up, I would assume all the humans would have freaked out and just started killing every single one. You know what I mean? But they never even showed a resolution, like, oh, mer people aren't so bad, or you know what I mean? They didn't show any like, literally an evil witch octopus just crashed your fucking house, took another mermaid. Are you telling me their conflict didn't just go onto your land and you guys were just like, they're gonna deal with it down there?
That is sea people problems.
Yeah,
but remember, they were also scared of them. And they control the ocean.
And that's what I'm saying. And so, like, at the end of it, they were just like, oh, the prince is in love. They must be good. That shit was stupid to me. Yeah. Did you guys not pick that up?
I did, yeah.
Did you see that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's just for me, because if they were adding that extra layer, they should have showed some kind of resolution with that. And they did not at all. They didn't even... They hinted at it and then completely just dismissed it the rest of the movie. So I was kind of like, okay, are you guys just adding that layer as a check mark? And then sure enough, it was, because no resolution at the end of it even occurred.
Yeah. Weird. Very weird stuff, this movie, man.
Yeah. Different things. But anything else to add to to anything we discussed right here?
That's just the plot, right?
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. I know you were saying that something had got you mad or something.
Oh man, I'm trying to rethink.
He's trying to
You
forget.
said the ugly ass scene.
Well, yeah, that scene, that ending scene where they're supposed to be all in harmony. It looks so bad, dude. Like, I know that's a CGI thing, but there was a lot of scenes that suffered from that. Probably because, I mean, you needed the water or whatever. And don't take this out of context because I know the water's fake, mermaids aren't real, whatever. But if you're going for that realism, it should look like real water. You know what I mean? Real, like, it's hard to pinpoint it. But yeah,
They should have,
a lot of it looked just bad.
Yeah, and I agree. I think they should have had them in, like, a thing of water. Because I did kind of see, like, the background on how they made the movie. And
It's just blue screen everywhere.
yeah, and I think they should have just did what they did in the Titanic and throw them in a pool of water and, like, let them float there, you know? They can add their mermaid tails or whatever they got to do. But at the end of the day, like...
It just seemed like they were trying to say they just CGI'd everything. Like, instead of going practical with some stuff, like when they were all sitting on the rocks, they could have had practical fins.
Yeah.
They could have did prosthetics on them to make them look real. You know what I mean?
And a lot of the mermaid tails that I've seen, like, people, like, purchase, like, on, you know, Facebook or whatever you find out, they look real.
Yeah.
And, you know, how hard would it be to get them done?
Movie magic could have made this look real easily, but the problem is that if you got to stretch CGI throughout the whole movie, how well is it gonna, you know, fit? And it kind of, it's funny because I seen this movie recently. You guys remember the 13th Year? You guys remember that one?
Yeah.
Disney?
No.
The one with the mermaid kid.
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
That has better mermaid tales and mermaid scenes than what I seen in this movie. And that movie came out back in 98 or 99 or something.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, too. Even, I don't know if you remember that movie Splash with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
That one had better mermaid tails, and that one was, like, from a long, long time ago. And even, like, the water scenes were great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just think this one had to have suffered too much CGI. I think that they were so worried about, you know, this blending in so well with this that they were just like, it'll be easier to just CGI everything.
Yeah.
I remember me and you laughing in that one scene where she was on the rock and she just kind of like...
Oh yeah, she was like crawling alongside it.
Yeah, like a crab. I was just like, why'd they do that shit, bro?
She didn't even, like, move her hands to kind of, like, grab on other rocks. She just, like, slithered to the top of the rock. And then it's like, why?
Yeah. And that's where I was saying, like, that looked super fake. And then the next scene, you know, you see the splash and, you know, she's singing and, you know, straight up or whatever. I'm like, they just played a scene that they just did a second ago and they expect you to think that that was real. Like, that was just, for me, like, they try to, and like I said, same thing with the water. It's like, bro, when she's underwater, the hair moves a certain way or whatever. But then when she comes out and whips her hair out, all the hair just went up in the air. And I was just like, God, I don't know. But let's move on to the last category of this review.
Yeah.
That's the musical numbers. What'd you guys think of the music? Was it toe tapping? Did it hit you like that? Were you vibing?
Some songs I didn't really like Part of Your World. I didn't like her she did have good, like, high notes, but I just think the way she was acting it out, it just didn't connect well to the music.
Yeah.
The notes were a little bit different than the original. I wish she would try to have kept it close to the original as best. The Under the Sea was good until she started singing, because in the original she didn't sing.
I know that threw me off too. That little tail end of her singing Under the Sea. I was like, it was so good a second ago.
Yeah. I'm like, you should have left it to Sebastian.
Okay. I thought
He was like, Under the Sea.
yeah, no. Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you were talking about the part that they added in Part of Your World, where she was like talking about her father or whatever.
And let me just say, before you keep going, like, that scene didn't make any sense, because why would she be singing with him when she's opposed to what the things that he's saying? You know what I mean? So why would she sing with him if she's opposed to it? If she was going to sing, she should have been like, well, oh well, life could be better above the sea, or you know what I mean, like something like that, like make it a plea kind of song, like, oh, but we could be doing this, and he's like, no, well, you couldn't be having fun down here, under the sea.
Yep.
But they just made her sing and be along with it, and the next scene she disappears.
She's gone.
Yep.
It's like, okay, but she was opposed to it, but she was singing the song. It's like,
Yeah. They should have had the original had the other fishes singing along, since the other.
and I think, if I remember correctly, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong, during that musical number she was trying to leave and they were keeping her around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, that one was not the best. The scuttlebutt was really good.
Scuttlebutt.
I did not like Eric's song at all.
Oh, dude, no.
That was horrible.
Bro, that shit made me laugh, bro.
It was very cringy.
Why did they do that to that man?
Yeah, no.
What'd you think?
That
of the
song was
numbers?
that song was so bad. That's the only one that's like stuck in my head.
That one
The
was.
rest of them were fine. Like I wasn't like all the ones that we've heard before. I'm just like, these are redoings of those ones. And then I think the best one again was just Melissa McCarthy's.
Poor unfortunate
one.
souls.
Yeah, she acted it out well, and she also like sang it pretty good too. Yeah,
She did really good. That's probably like my favorite song. All the other ones were kind of,
yeah. That was a problem. Like, same thing. The opening one, the part of your world, like it seemed like she was lip syncing it. It didn't seem like she was putting that emotion in it, like it was supposed to be done. The Scuttlebutt one, if Aquafina wasn't singing it, it probably would have went a little bit harder. But it's hard to hear it with her voice, and it sucks for me. It sucks because I do like when Sebastian does his little part or whatever. I know some people, I did see like on TikTok or whatever, that people were talking shit about that song. I never really heard it until we seen it on the movie theater right now. But I know a lot of people were saying like, oh, the worst song in the whole thing. But to be honest, the worst song was that dude's song. That shit was the worst song. I don't know why they made him sing. For a second there, I was like, the beginning didn't have me, but then in the middle, I was like, okay, he's about to close this out very well. And then they put him on the boat, and I was just like, all right, this I don't know.
he's overstayed his welcome.
Yeah, like
They put him on the boat after his mom had just told him not to go on the boat.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, he did. That's exactly what they did. Like, oh, he's disobeying rules and he can't sing.
He's naughty.
And he ain't handsome, bro. Take your ass home, dog. Take your ass
I
home.
think one of the other songs I wasn't really vibing with was the one she was singing in her head.
Oh yeah, but I want to say, because to be honest, I didn't have a problem with the song. It's what Stephanie says was like, the notes that she was hitting was different in my opinion, so it didn't have that same effect or quality as the original singer of the original Little Mermaid had.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seemed when she was hitting that top, those high notes, it kind of it dipped, if that makes sense. Where when Ariel, the original Ariel, hit those notes, it kind of seemed like it went high and then went down. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. I'm digging into a little like music math right now, but yeah, it was just a difference in tone when they were singing, and then it just, every scene that she was in, she just wasn't acting right. And I think that's why the music wasn't hitting. At least when the dude was singing his song, as bad as the song was, he was putting emotion into it. And he was trying to...
He was doing his best.
Yeah, he was doing his best to act it out and show, like, hey, this is actually how I'm feeling. When Haley Bailey was on screen, Ariel, I was like, okay, your voice isn't enough to sell me. Like, you need to, show me that you're actually singing the song. You know what I mean? And even then, her voice wasn't really all that in a bag of chips to me.
Yeah.
They could have probably got a better singer. Where's Tay Swift? They should have just painted her hair red, man.
I would have probably enjoyed that more. Because we already know she can hit those notes, and she probably would have done good
Like in
acting.
that, was it the Bad Blood video? She's a redhead.
Yeah. Oh?
Kiss the Girl.
Oh, I actually like that one. I ain't gonna lie. And even the addition of like Flounder and even Aquafina, like her voice wasn't like so distracting. Like it was just that little subtle like comedy at the end, and it was fine. I would say that's the best song out of the whole. I really liked how they did that, where they were like, oh, we can't be seen, percussion, and he like moves all the branches, and they just start like making music and whatever. I really enjoyed that. I'd say that's probably like the highlight of the movie. But the thing is that honestly, even even certain songs like Part of Your World and everything, the scenes that were in the trailers were the best scenes in the movie. And I think that was something for me where I was like, okay, you guys I already seen this one. Like the boat one, I seen that clip in the trailers. And so when I was hearing it, I was like, okay, this is fire. The Part of Your World, I think that was the very first trailer that they put out where, you know, you see her rising up and singing that part. And that part looked really well in the movie as well. But I was like, but this is probably what they really worked on and polished off for the trailer to draw people in.
Yep.
And then the rest of the movie looks like scuttlebutt.
Basically.
So did they have at least one banger for you guys? Are you agreeing with me with the boat one was?
Yeah, I think that one was good. The scene overall was a great scene. I did like how they incorporated like the lights of the fireflies and all that. It was a good scene.
The fish. I like how they were really like Sebastian was like under the hat and like basically like his what is it, like the little person on his shoulder, like
Devil's advocate.
Yeah. I think in the original he was like blatantly out there, and this one they were like, oh yeah, no, we got to be discreet about it, and I really enjoyed that in that scene. I think
that's probably the best one, or again the Ursula one, but one of those, either or.
Yeah, but I would say between Poor Unfortunate Souls and Kiss the Girl would be top, and then Poor Unfortunate Souls,
and then everything else at the bottom, basically.
Yeah.
As long as we're all in agreement with that, because there wasn't a lot of toe tappers in this one.
No, there wasn't. Which is crazy because they were like boasting about like, oh, we added new songs, man. Like, you know, can't wait for you guys to hear them. And then they were ass. Like
they added 3 new songs and
fucking terrible songs.
Yeah, they were pretty garbage. It's because and that was one thing too that I noticed. They try to mix it in with like the old way that they did the music for the original Little Mermaid, and they try to do, you know, like that very Disney princess type of music. And I'm like, in my opinion, if you were gonna do a rap song or, you know, the Scuttlebutt, you should have had Prince Eric kind of perform that one. You know what I mean? Like, you know, spit a little bit, you know. Don't make him seem like such a bitch when he was singing. Like, I swear, when he was singing that song, I was like, you sound like a total bitch, bro. What are you doing? And then Scuttlebutt, well, I think if they were going to give anybody a rap song, and I'm not, you know, this ain't, you know, like, I'm not trying to be mean, but they should have gave it to Sebastian, because he should have hit it with the bomba clat. Like, he should have just, you know, I think the little Scuttlebutt part where, you know, he spit it a little bit, I think he actually did a good job. And then they passed it back to Aquafina, and I was like, damn.
I don't know. That was a bop.
Scuttlebutt was a bop?
Not really, no.
No.
No. I'm not a fan of
I know Stephanie really, like, underneath, I know she made a face to that song, but I know she likes Scuttlebutt.
I thought it was funny.
Oh, see? I knew she liked it.
I'm going to listen to it on the way home.
One out of 3 songs, that got to be a dub in Disney's book, I'm guessing. They're like, at least they liked one.
Mm-hmm.
No? I the only one I really liked was the boat one. That was it. The Kiss the Girl.
What? You didn't like Ursula's song?
I liked Ursula's, but I guess out of the whole movie, like the only one that I was like really like jiving with was the
Jiving.
Yeah, jiving. I was skipping you know. So yeah, I guess overall, before we get into the next set of questions, because I have a few more before we close this out, guys. What would you give this movie? From a scale 1 to 10, and then why did you give it that number? Stephanie, go ahead.
I would probably give it a 4.
Okay.
And this is just a personal thing for me. I feel as Ariel being my favorite princess, and you know, I really like the Little Mermaid.
Mm-hmm.
I feel Disney always misses with her products, like
with Ariel.
Yeah, like I'll go into a store, for example, like a Disney store,
Okay.
Merchandise for,
Like I
for
said,
her.
Disney adult.
Yes, but like merch for Ariel is usually not as cute or as like eye appealing as Minnie Mouse or another movie. They usually like will slap a scene from the movie on like a backpack and call it good. It's like they don't take time to give her spot as being an iconic, memorable princess.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in my opinion, they really did miss it with this live action because it could have been more in their opportunity to really give her spot.
Okay. I can see what you mean, and I can agree.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? What's your number for this one, and why'd you give it that number?
Everything in it, good, or what I considered good, doesn't outweigh all the bad. That being said, it's not the worst movie I've seen, but it isn't the best. It's just an average movie. Like, I don't see myself seeing this again. Not in a while. I'd give it probably 5, 4.5, around there. 5 if I feel like I'm being generous, but like it's just like very smack dead in the middle average for me. There's nothing. It just everything it does or it tries to do isn't better than the original. And what it does do better, it's not enough to bump it up. So
this movie's a fucking 2. This movie is just, in my opinion, it's a bad movie. The acting is fucking garbage. And though Ursula does shine, it's not enough. They don't put her enough in order for me to, really pick this movie up more. The plot, though they try to add an extra layer, it really didn't pan out to anything. So it was just the same old plot, but stretched out to be even longer for whatever reason. I don't understand. The music, you already know I don't like musicals. I'm not a big musical person, but I did like The Little Mermaid, and I do like the songs that were in the original Little Mermaid, so I really wanted to give this one a chance. I know a lot of people were, and you see it online, oh, I don't like Ariel because no red hair or, black or whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's not why I was able to just go in there and be like, all right, I'm going to judge this movie on its own merits, on what they did, and they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything with it, and I don't know if I'm trying to think whether or not it's because I've seen the original and liked that one, and with this one, it just couldn't live up to that, and so, but if I can be fair and no comparing or anything, this movie was a 2. It was just not good. It wasn't a good movie. I don't think it was, it didn't do anything at all. It didn't justify being alive.
that's fair.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So with that, and I know that we kind of compared it already a little bit, and I was trying to avoid that, and I wanted to judge this movie on its own merits. We've said that before. Remakes, all that stuff. We try to judge it on its own merits.
Try, but when it's something this bad, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, because we at the end of the day, when it doesn't hit the same notes, or if it doesn't at least one up the original, then it's always going to be
Inferior.
the little brother that never made it kind of shit. So with that, and I know we kind of got your answers, but just to clarify, Stephanie, did this movie recapture the spirit of the OG for you?
It did not. Honestly, it did not. I wish they would have gave it more justice.
More justice? Okay. What about you? Did this one come close, or did it recapture that spirit of the OG?
Not at all. I mean, like, this is just one of those things where we talk about, it either being too different or very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Not to scare people, but at the same time, not to be bold enough to also scare people on the other side of the spectrum. This one it does the bare minimum of being like, oh, here's just a fresh take on, or here's a live action take on the story you already know, with a few songs dashed in to spice things up.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't do it at all, because even then those songs were just ass. So it doesn't capture the magic again at all.
Okay, all right. Same thing. I don't want to feel like I'm dragging this movie, but no, it doesn't recapture the original. Like I said, I think, I don't know, according to the tomato score or whatever, the audience score, like, I think on its own merits, it's probably a better movie. But I think because we have seen the original and we're a little bit older, I think it's never going to live up to that point. And I think, I'm not going to say all of the remakes don't capture it, because there is actually a couple that I do enjoy. But I would say this one had a hard time to recapture it. And I was hearing that this movie was supposed to be like the better remake out of all the remakes, and it just, in my opinion, it just didn't really, it didn't hit
What were they smoking? Who knows?
Disney? What was Disney smoking?
No. Well, yes. And
that
then
seaweed.
And then
seaweed.
Those people that were like, it's one of the better ones. Like, what were they smoking? What were they watching? Like, I don't know what movie they went to go see. That clearly wasn't this.
That's why I'm wondering. Like, was it because like we have that OG in our heads? Do you think that can be a reason?
I think so. And this is just like as a Disney adult.
Mm-hmm. She's owning it.
I mean,
she's owning it.
No, well, yeah, I have to, because I mean, a lot of the good memories that we've had is going to Disneyland. I really enjoy being there. It's a good place to be. But the thing is like,
not for your wallet.
You know what? It's the only place I'm okay with getting robbed. Okay.
Yeah.
I get robbed at gunpoint by a freaking mouse, and I'm okay with that.
Hand over your money.
But yeah, so I just think like growing up with like these original movies, these were great movies. Being seen in a live action form should be pretty darn close to that original, because you're not just attending to new generations of people. You're also trying to, like you said earlier, bring out that inner child of the ones that know and have grown up with these types of movies.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, I'm not trying to drag the movie down, but at the end of the day, it was not the best. It was a flop.
Mm-hmm. I don't. We'll have to see the box office to figure out if it's a flop or not. I mean, I heard that it took #1 so far, but
with Spider-Verse out already, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna get knocked out.
Yeah.
Coming up right here. So now that we kind of, we've been on this train, okay, of, like I said, Disney remakes. We've seen a whole bunch come out.
Yeah.
We have a few new ones coming down the pipeline. I guess the question is, do they make good remakes? Do you think that this is something that Disney should continue to do?
At this point, the way they're going, I would say they should not continue to do remakes. And if they do, to take the time to make sure that everything's perfect before they send them out. Because at this point, it just kind of looks like we're going to take them out because we need them out there so people know that they're out there and we can get more money, because people are still going to watch them regardless. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think like if they're going to do like Lilo and Stitch, they should take their time and make sure everything is good to go before they go ahead and send that out, because they have not had the best reputation with their remakes.
Yeah, I just pulled up the list right now, and I mean, they have a remake of Dumbo, Aladdin.
I forgot that one existed.
I forgot that one existed too. The Beauty and the Beast remake, Mulan, Lion King, both Alice in Wonderlands, both Maleficents. Pinocchio recently came out. A New Lady and the Tramp. Peter Pan and Wendy recently got released. I mean, Josh, what do you think about remakes? What do you think about the Disney remakes?
I know they'll still make them. Like, from a logical standpoint, they'll still make them because they see the box office and they're like, oh, this is clearly something people want. So they're going to keep doing it. But on a personal level, they should stop.
Yeah, unless, personally, Disney, I need you to fucking chill, bro.
Yeah, like, they need to stop. They aren't... I understand wanting to retell the same story for new audiences and, like, spice it up and whatnot. But at that point, just take the concept and do something else with it. You know what I mean? Don't tell me the story I already know, because then I'm going to go in there expecting what I know. And then, they changed it up. They made a few more songs or whatever to this movie that I know they didn't have in the other one. You're just like, oh, that's cool. And then, whatever. But yeah, no, they shouldn't exist if that's all they're going to do. Release a new soundtrack if that's the case. You don't have to make a whole goddamn movie for this bitch. Like, doesn't make much sense.
But I do like the spin-offs, like the little, like how I said, the origins of like the villains. That's cool.
Like Maleficent did right. I didn't see Cruella.
Cruella's really good.
I think it's good.
They gave her personality. They gave us the reason why she ends up being mean, and where she pretty much is going with her future, and it gives you more tells, of course, like that there's gonna be an addition movie to that, but that's not what we're getting with like a lot of the remakes, because they're just remakes of the original.
Yeah,
and sometimes the originals are just better.
There you go.
I think the issue is with every single one, they're just not going balls to the wall and changing things.
Exactly.
I'm
playing it too safe.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. I think that they would prefer, like I said, they're trying to bring in both generations, but they're not understanding that you can't please one without angering the other. But I think if you can make a completely new product out of pieces that people loved before, but also dress it up for something new, I think that's where you'll find that balance. But I think some movies, kind of like Alice in Wonderland, that one was a remake or a live action remake, right? And people loved the first one because it was a different take, but it was kind of similar, and people liked it. The second one wasn't so great because it was an original story, and people were like, well, Alice didn't do this or whatever, you know what I mean? Or whatever happened with that one. I honestly 100% don't know, but I know that one wasn't as well received. Same thing with Maleficent. You said you liked that one too. They did something completely different. Origin story, right? People love the first one, but the second one people didn't really vibe with because it was an original story. And they were like, well, Maleficent didn't do that. She died in Sleeping Beauty. You know what I mean? So.
And that is one of the big things too, is like in Maleficent, Aurora was not raised by Maleficent and she had her parents, but you know what I mean? But they gave her this role as she was only caring for Aurora. So it was a different take, but it was also like, it was good.
It was a different take, but it outlined what the original story was. You know what I mean? I think that's the best stories is when they can connect it in a way that it doesn't really change 100% the outcome. You know what I mean? Especially if you're adding on. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've seen Fast X. No. Okay. Well, we've recently seen it, and I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's not even a big spoiler, but because they put it in the trailer, but basically they take the events of what happened in Fast 5 and added a different perspective. You know what I mean? And that's what Maleficent did. They took the events that happened in Sleeping Beauty and just added a different perspective and still kept the same. I don't remember how that movie ended because I don't remember how Maleficent wound up surviving. Oh yeah, didn't they go to war or something? So they wound up changing the ending. But I didn't mind it because the story led up to that. It kept that same frame, but then changed it for the better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. Not a lot of people like that big change.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy Maleficent? Did you see that one?
Yeah, I saw it. I thought it was pretty good. I kind of liked the whole take of like taking the villain and then being like, oh, it's not that she was just evil. There's a reason why she's evil, and then it turns out,
that she was misunderstood.
Yes,
she wasn't evil.
Yeah, that's one of my things I enjoyed, and I didn't see the second one, so I have no comment on it. But I liked it for the concept it was, which is just taking the villain, giving it a new spin, and being like, this is why she is.
Let me ask you a question. Did you watch the original Sleeping Beauty?
Yeah, from what I can remember from it, yeah, way back when.
So, but would you be able to, like, when you watch Maleficent, did you go in there fresh? Like, you don't even remember Sleeping Beauty that well to the point where you can compare.
Yeah, basically.
So you went in there with a fresh mind, so you probably have a limited kind of perspective with it, but you said you liked it, right?
Yes.
Why did you like it?
Maleficent?
Yeah, well, because you watching Sleeping Beauty, like, why was that one so good for you?
The reason why was because Sleeping Beauty on its own was not. It was a movie based on Aurora. It's a princess movie. So Maleficent is a backstory or her original story, origin story. And I really enjoyed that because it had nothing to do with Sleeping Beauty. They didn't incorporate any of the stuff from the original movie in this movie.
Yeah.
Because if I was going to go in and be like, well, Maleficent didn't have wings, because in the original, she didn't have wings.
Yeah.
She had a cloak, and she was a human. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they took her wings away.
Well, that's not what they said in the original. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we didn't know that she had wings in the original.
Yeah, that's why.
But they took them away to, like I said, to coexist with the original. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah.
So the thing is like giving her this backstory. Like, to me, it falls under like how Alice in Wonderland was made. So it was different, like more of a fantasy. It was like completely different than the original.
Okay.
because it doesn't really align itself with the original. Because, like I said, Aurora was not raised by Maleficent in the original. She had her parents.
Okay.
This was a different spin on the story.
Okay, so you being a Disney adult, are you okay? Because you're saying that you don't like The Little Mermaid,
Mhm.
right? Was this movie too different for you? Is that the problem?
Yes, because it was a remake of the original. So it should have been pretty darn close to the original. It wasn't like they were just making a story, like, you know what I mean? Like if they would have made an Ursula backstory and then they try to, like, you know, add Ariel and all that stuff in there, it probably would have been a different mindset, because I'm going in there thinking, okay, this is not The Little Mermaid. This is Ursula's story.
Okay.
So if, you know, we saw how she was when she was younger and she ended up, you know, they had a scene with Trident and all this stuff and the mer people, then I would have been like, okay, I see her perspective. I see why she became this way.
Yeah, but they sold it to be the Little Mermaid story
Yes.
because you know what the original Little Mermaid story was. You expected. Now, do you expect and this is a question for you, do you guys expect a carbon copy of a remake of these stories? Do you guys expect that? Like, would you have preferred a Little Mermaid movie that went beat for beat exactly the way the first one did, and, you know, have the same outcomes or whatever, and, you know, just with the live action cast?
I don't think beat for beat, but like having the original songs would have been in the, like, good, like kind of like how it was in the original. If they were gonna add different songs to it, making sure that the characters were gonna be on point with it. And also the cast, making sure that the cast looks similar to the characters.
Because if it's a remake, you want it to look kind of the same.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's like, you know, Ursula was pretty good. Eric could have been better.
You could have looked hotter.
As for Ariel, I wish her hair would have been red. It was orange with blonde in it. I think they should have had her be more.
That was kind of weird, huh? Because I think underwater it looked kind of red, and then when she was out of water, it was like orange with blonde.
Yeah.
Under the sea. What about you? Do you expect the carbon copy, or do you, like, you know, beat for beat the same thing, or, you know? And this is especially, you know, especially important for you because, you know, the new Lilo and Stitch is coming out, and we know how you feel, and you be feeling about the Stitch. So, are you gonna prefer something that's beat for beat the same, or do you want something different when it comes to that?
It's tough. It's tough Disney wise, right? Because you know they're gonna play the safe way, and they're gonna be like, we got to do it beat for beat and whatnot. But I'd prefer them taking the story I know and just changing it fully. You know what I mean? I think I'd prefer that than a beat for beat copy, because at least then I know. Well, I do know. Yes, it is the Little Mermaid or it is Lilo and Stitch. Like, I'm still gonna, as long as I still get Ariel, Eric, like the key people, but you throw in a spin to the story, then yeah, okay, that's fine. And yeah, the cast makes a big point for it too, because again, while it is a remake and you're trying to tell a new spin, you classified it as a retelling. You know what I mean? So it should be that all done like that, and Disney shouldn't be playing it safe so much. As far as Lilo and Stitch goes, I do hope they do something different. You know what I mean? Like, I would totally prefer to see them try and take the concept and do a little different with it. But I know that they're just going to try and resell me the same product I bought when the original came out. So, I mean, if I had a preference, I'd prefer they don't exist. That's just me. Like, that's
remakes.
Yeah.
You rather not. You rather
Disney's remakes. Yeah.
Because I think beat for beat would be a no for anything. I think you shouldn't recopy anything that you do. I guess the best example has to be kind of like The Lion King, though, you know, and we'll talk a little bit deeper in translation right now. But even though, you know, it didn't translate well with some people because, you know, people don't like, you know, lions and human voices coming out of a lion's mouth or whatever. They took that same story, did it basically beat for beat, but then added some, you know, some new scenes that added an extra layer to the end result. I honestly I think The Lion King kind of did it well. I just think people didn't like it because of CGI wise and whatever. But I like that. That's fine. Beat for beat with a little bit of changes to add a little bit of layer to a story that you already know. Because if you are doing a remake, don't change everything, because I think you're right, Stephanie, when you say what were you saying earlier, that you just make sure that how you were saying with like Maleficent, and if
Like,
Ursula would have had that backstory or whatever, that what they did with Scar was kind of that, and just added a little blanket more, and gave him a little bit more presence to make him feel a little bit more evil and stuff like that. Like, do stuff like that, put a little bit more in depth, because I think that was something that the old cartoons didn't have, was like in depth about the villain. Nowadays we explore a lot of villain stuff, origin stories. You get a lot of anti-hero stuff. If they explore and add a little bit of complexity to the villain, then it would work out 100%. Like, if they would have took the Little Mermaid right now, gave Ariel basically the same story, and then just added a few layers to Ursula, you know what I mean? Like, we would have felt a little bit more for her, because even though Melissa McCarthy killed it, it still felt like a generic villain at the end of the day. And that's because the original villain was a generic villain, that the actress, whoever voiced her, bless her soul, she actually did a good job and put that great spin on it, and it became a classic. But if you add that extra layer, which I think they tried to do with this one, when they were like, oh, Trident was the one that banished me, because I don't think they went into detail with the Little Mermaid. If they would have followed through with that storyline and would have added that layer to Ursula, I think this movie would have been better.
Well, yes, they did in the original talk about that she was banished to exile.
Yeah,
Yes.
but they didn't say that they were brother and sister.
Yeah, in the second part.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh, damn. I don't even remember the second part like that.
So, yeah, so pretty much, and actually Ursula has another sister. So,
Oh, see, so they'd all be related then.
I,
Their family drama's fucking up the 7 Seas.
what the hell's going on here? Dealing putting a blow in Eric's life. What the fuck?
But yeah.
So let's talk about translation. Okay, we spoke about this a little bit. We touched up on it. Obviously some people like the design, some people don't. And a lot of people like to say the CGI doesn't really look as good when when some things are put out there in live action and whatever. Do you feel like Disney has been doing a good job translating, at least visually? I'd say visually. Don't not the story, not everything else about the remake. Let's say visually speaking, where is Disney doing a good job when it comes to these remakes? Are they translating it well visually?
I would say it's a 50-50.
They hit some, they miss some.
Yeah, because some of their movies are great, and then some of their movies are not. Or some scenes are better than others. It just really depends on what they're working on. And I don't know. I'm not a big, yeah, sorry.
Dramatic pause.
I just think like it's just CGI is kind of hard to work with because a lot of it looks really fake.
Okay.
We need real lines.
So 50-50. They hit some marks for you, some marks they don't. Okay. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. A lot of it is just CGI issues and how they translate it, because there were some scenes in The Little Mermaid where it was like beat for beat like the original, and then there were other scenes where you're just like, ugh, that did not, trying to translate that from drawing to CGI looked really funky. So yeah, they hit it and they miss it like a good percent of the time. There's no real consecutiveness with their translations. They fuck up either on the animals or scenery or action pieces, like the ending of The Little Mermaid. Like they try, and then maybe it's the realism, you know what I mean? Because they're like, oh, if it's stormy, it's gonna be dark as shit. We need this, and that. But they forget that you also need to see the actors. You know what I mean? It isn't like a cartoon where everyone is just lit up with color.
Yeah.
Well, like you got to keep in mind too, like Pirates of the Caribbean, half of their scenes are in the ocean, and you can see everything that's going on even at nighttime.
Yeah, that's something too. I think visually, I think they do a good job. I just think CGI is the problem, is a snag. Like I guess design wise, like everything looks so real. Like I said, it's weird to see voices come out of these animals because they look super real, and I think that's an issue. I think it's just that though, is that you know, they want to make it super real, but yet they do a bunch of shit that's not real. You know what I mean? Like you got to pick a lane. Like I said, if you're gonna establish that this is gonna happen, then you got to make sure that that's gonna happen. Kind of like, and I said this before too, like the Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah.
You know, you already know they're gonna be goofy.
Mm-hmm.
They're not trying to be serious. They're trying to, you know, put you in this world.
Yes.
So if you're trying to put us in this world, this, you know, Little Mermaid, whatever, then you need to make sure that everything's consistent with the things that are happening with the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you can't tell me that, oh, these fishes and everything's going to look real, but then you're going to tell me that Ariel would have survived in that depth and make it all the way to the top to not only catch her breath, but give us that beautiful scene where her hair whips in the air. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? No, she would have been like, oh, God. You know what I mean?
And we all know her hair would have been in her face.
Yeah, exactly. All over the place. You know, and like you said, how would she have been able to know how to kick? She didn't even know how to walk a second ago. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't she have done the dolphin all the way up there, you know? And even then, that would have slowed her down. So, like, you can't either be real or don't be real. You know what I mean? And if you're not going to, like, show us these visuals, but then, you know, actually try to make it practical and make us believe that shit, like we're in that world, because I think that's the only problem with their translation is that they're not putting us within that world, you know? But yeah, I mean, before we move on to our last topic here, does anybody have any gripes, anything to talk about, any rebuttals to anything that was said before? Or we're kind of on the same page?
Yeah, we're all on the same boat.
We're on the same
boat. Yeah, we understand that Disney hasn't really been hitting the mark with everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
with some things, yes, and when it is, it's sweet, sweet bliss. But with other things, it's kind of like,
yeah, basically, yeah. You're like, they produced this. I don't know about this. This is
like, don't give me a movie that I bought off a Wish. Please don't do that.
like garbage.
Oh, dog, you know what movie that is? It's on Disney Plus. It's called Cheaper by the Dozen. That shit is like the Wish version of like
the new one.
Yeah.
I didn't like that either.
You watched it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
That shit was.
Yeah, no, I
I'm
didn't
like-
see it.
I'm like, the originals were fine. The first one was good. The second one was decent as well.
I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either.
Yeah, I just think like sometimes some movies don't need that extra.
Yeah, Disney needs to understand, like, making these movies is like crack, man. Sometimes you just gotta say no. Sometimes you just gotta be like, no crack today, please. Like, you don't want to do that. But you know, we did kind of dig into Disney a lot. We drug the remakes.
Yeah.
I think we should end on a positive note, and let's go ahead and say our favorite Disney remake. Stephanie, what's your favorite Disney or Josh, what's your favorite Disney remake? Like
in general?
In general, the Disney remake, any remake that Disney has put out, which one's your favorite? Even if it's not like a 10 in your book, even if it's, you know, if I don't know, if Aladdin was a 4 and, you know, the Beauty and the Beast is a 5, then fuck it.
Yeah, I guess that's because none of these are 10s. I don't think if I had to pick one, it's probably The Lion King.
The Lion King.
I really like mainly the adult voices for Simba and Nala, like Beyonce and Childish Gambino.
Mm-hmm.
They do really great with what they got.
I like that they brought back James Earl Jones for that.
Yeah, it doesn't translate too well, but I think that would probably be my favorite live action remake.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. With Stephanie.
If I had to pick one.
If you had to pick one.
If I had to, I would say The Beauty and the Beast.
Okay. With Emma Watson?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Why is that one your favorite?
I don't know. I just thought it was.
You told me to pick one.
Yeah.
That was the first one about my head.
I looked at your screen. Like, what? Why is that one your favorite?
It just was. It was okay. It wasn't the worst. It was definitely better than The Little Mermaid. It was pretty close to the original, I would say.
Okay. I was gonna say The Lion King because of the things that I said before. You know, they kind of added that extra layer and stuff. But I kind of feel like I gotta pick a different one now. And I would have to say, honestly, I liked Lady and the Tramp. I seen the live action one. Oh, my voice. I seen the live action one. Yeah, that's the second one. That's the second coming. let them come. Anyways, but I think that they, like how you said, I think that one was basically, they kept it straightforward. They changed a few things, like, you know, they are supposed to, or, you know, the Disney stamp on there. But I think that was the better of the remakes in my book. I didn't mind Lady and the Tramp. I've never seen it again, but I didn't mind it when I was watching it.
See, I forget that half of these are remakes. Like, they did Dumbo, they did The Jungle Book. I forgot about Aladdin till you mentioned it. They're
doing an Aladdin too.
Yeah, see, so like I forgot we're like a good chunk into these live action remakes.
Yeah.
Well,
and half of them are like missing the donk. So,
well, and that's the problem that we're having. Like, we're literally at
They're not memorable. That's what it is.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, and half of these, they were put on Disney Plus, I think.
Oh yeah, because they came out during the pandemic.
Yeah, like
Lady and the Tramp straight went to Disney Plus.
I think Dumbo too.
A lot of the movies the remakes, I do wait for them to come out on Disney Plus, just for the reason that I know that.
Oh yeah, that new Pinocchio came out on Disney Plus too.
That one wasn't so bad.
I don't think that one was that bad either.
That one was pretty close.
No,
but I just didn't. That one was kind of sad to me because
I didn't like I'm not trying to be mean, but I didn't like the fairy in the new Pinocchio. That shit was such an eyesore when that happened. That shit was crazy.
Yeah, that one was kind of sad at the end because they kind of make it seem like Geppetto and Pinocchio died.
Yeah,
and went to heaven.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't that like
that's dark as
isn't
shit.
that like the story that supposedly that they never even made it, that Pinocchio never made it out of that whole donkey thing. So, and then the old man went crazy and he went sailing looking for him.
Or is it the Grimm's story or something like that?
Yeah, he wound up sailing for him or whatever, and then, you know, it wound up turning out that he hallucinated that Pinocchio was with them the whole time, and then he wound up getting ate, and that's what basically happened. They both wound up dying.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be like a dark spin.
Yeah. Well, the thing, a lot of these movies come off of like these.
Horror stories. I know that, but I guess I didn't know the Pinocchio one. So you guys spitting that straight to me. I'm just like, that sounds dark as shit.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but like in the original movie, that's like, it's a happy story, you know. But in the live action, like the way that they crashed into like the sand or whatever, how they were walking, like Geppetto's like, okay, we're gonna go home, Pinocchio, and he turns into a real boy. Like they look like they're walking into heaven, like like they died.
Damn. They didn't make it. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's some shit.
Yeah, but there is a lot of live actions out there, and some of them missed the mark royally, and some of them hit that mark. With that, I think that's everything we got. I mean, live action stuff's gonna be coming out some more. We're gonna see that Moana. We're gonna see that new Lilo and Stitch. They've already gotten to the point where we're already hitting that stop. I wonder what they're gonna do next. Like, are we gonna get like a live action Toy Story movie? Or we're gonna, you know what I mean?
Oh, please no.
Like it just seems like we're heading in that direction. And I would beg Disney to stop if anybody listens to this, please stop. But with that, Stephanie, you are a guest. Any final thoughts? Anything you have to say?
No.
You know, it would be customary for the guests to thank the hosts for bringing them on.
Meh.
Damn.
I'm just kidding. Thank you for having me. We can do it again.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I appreciate that. But with that, guys, if there's anything that we should have said on this in this review, anything that we should have been talking about, something that we didn't bring up, something that you guys think we should have said, but we did not, any movies you guys want us to review, Josh, let them know where they can let us know.
Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at FilmBros Podcast. You can let us know there about any movies or news you want us to cover. We post when new episodes are up, so go follow us there. If you want to listen to us on the go, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcasts, we are on a couple more sites, so check us out there. If you want
to hear me back on the show,
let
us know.
Let us know on the socials that I just mentioned. If you want to support us, the Buzzsprout links are also in our bios on the same socials I just mentioned at FilmBros Podcast. And when it's all said and done, subscribe to our YouTube at FilmBros Podcast.
Yeah, and nobody wants her back on, but we'll talk to you guys on the next one.
Talk to you guys later.